It's hard to believe, but it's been a decade since we hosted the PanAm Games. Yeah, 2015. Its impact and legacy are still being felt today as the venues serve now as sports community hubs. And joining us live here on CP24 Breakfast this morning is David Shoemaker. He's the CEO of the Canadian Olympic Committee. David, 10 years have passed since the PanAm Games were hosted here and in Hamilton as well. What do you look at as sort of the lasting impact and legacy from that time? Because 10 years, that's a good chunk of time in between.
It is a good chunk of time, but it is hard to believe as well. And I think most Torontonians would agree. It was a historic sporting achievement. Start there. 700 Canadian athletes representing the country in Toronto, 219 medals, probably the largest sporting event we ever hosted in this country, and we fared extremely well. But we also get the opportunity to look back 10 years afterward and say to ourselves, well, what did we accomplish from a legacy point of view? And it's really quite impressive. The Toronto PanAm Sports Centre, not far from here on Morningside Avenue in Scarborough, is a good example. 1.7 million people pass through its gates and use that facility. We're talking small children from city-run programs to seniors doing aquafit to the highest performance athletes qualifying for the Olympic and Paralympic Games. Pretty impressive that the organizers had the vision to invest in the legacy of the Games and create things like that center there, and they run across the Golden Horseshoe.
Yeah, that is a remarkable facility. If people haven't visited it, I mean, the pools, the gym, everything, it's the track, it's all there. And of course, we got to look ahead because next summer, Toronto, of course, is hosting the FIFA World Cup, or at least 6 matches here. How do you think what we've learned from PanAm could help apply to what's coming up next summer?
There's such a direct application, and I think it starts with that the Games can have, or the World Cup can have a similar impact on the community the way the Games did back in 2015. And I have high confidence that the city, the country will be transformed by soccer in the World Cup, and it will inspire youth to want to play the game. It will be a huge precursor to economic growth and job creation, and the data is incontrovertible. Sometimes the multiplier effect 2, 3, 6 times every dollar that's invested in games comes back in the return on the investment. But also when done right, the impact through legacy planning can really be important. And the Toronto PanAm Sports Centre is an example. Tim Hortons Field in Hamilton, the Milton Velodrome, which is used by pickleball players and track cyclists and cyclists alike, are just small examples. And then community legacy. I don't know how many people remember that the Union Pearson Express was created as a result of the Toronto PanAm Games, or an incredible community was developed as a result of the village being built in the West Don Lands, the Athletes Village, and now is a vibrant community with parkland and mixed-use development. When done right and invested in properly, sporting events and hosting of world-class sporting events in our community can have incredible results.
That is amazing, and like you said, if you can plan it properly and execute properly, there are good things on the horizon. But there's also difficulties in sport now in terms of cuts, funding cuts, situations like the federal government has even said, a Treasury Board, like 7.5% cuts to all budgets next year, to 15% or 10 or 15%. So all these cuts are kind of coming down. How does that potentially threaten what sport can potentially accomplish?
Well, I think it's a great opportunity for sport, because the federal government is saying we're looking for opportunities. We're looking for investments that can deliver on a vision that makes us competitive around the world, that brings the world to Canada, that creates jobs, that creates low-income housing, that makes vibrant communities. And when you host sporting events, as the PanAm Games in 2015 showed in Toronto, we can deliver on that vision in spades. Invest in sport, and it'll all come.
Let me just quickly ask you about LA. I know you were there recently. The Games are coming up. What are you looking forward to summer-wise for Canadian Olympians in a couple of years' time?
Well, we have the best athletes in the world in Canada. And in Paris, we won 27 medals, and the LA 28 Summer Games are coming. And I think it'll be like having an Olympic Games in our backyard. Canada will shine bright. We're really looking forward to that competition. The inspiration. We saw Summer McIntosh at the World Championships shattering records. She'll be one of many that will do us very proud.
Lots to look forward to. David Shoemaker, always appreciate the time. Thanks for joining us again on Breakfast. Good seeing you again. Okay, take care.